Let's now go over part 2 of the exercises for the navigation. Especially we want to see, given certain object structure that we have already built from scratch, how can we navigate between classes or between objects at runtime using aggregation links. I'll show you 2 different approaches to actually tackle this, and we'll go over 3 examples together. And let me remind you about the context we have. So that's a very important remark. So relationship in real life is going to, among classes, will be sophisticated, which means you have to navigate really between context to context, from object to objects. That's simply just very common for OOP. And let's assume this particular design and also its corresponding implementation, right? So about the interpretation for each aggregation with the empty diamond, that's something I already spoke about in detail in the earlier part, okay? And that's the corresponding implementation. Partial is not complete. So we got students, we got course, and also we got faculty. And we got the relevant private attributes. You can also assume we got the corresponding public accessors, which will get us the way to retrieve the corresponding values. Okay, so that's the assumption. And aggregation links between classes constrain how you can navigate among these classes. When I say constraint, I really meant when you actually try to type some code in Eclipse or any programming IDE, if you actually provide the wrong attribute name or the wrong link, the code simply wouldn't compile. That's something we'll see as well. Okay, so for example, let's say in the context of the class, let's say student. So now the context is very important. Let's say in this particular class over here, what can you write? Of course, you can actually write this. If you want to write this.cs, so that's gonna give you the courses array over here, and then you can go further. If you go further, you can actually go for as the courses array at index I. And index I is going to be a single member in the array. So that's going to denote this particular course class. And then from there, you actually switch the context into course. And then from there, what can you write? You can say .title or you can say .prof. In the case of .prof, you can switch the context into faculty again because the prof is declared of type faculty, and etc. Right? That's something we want you to get very natural in your thinking. And you can look at this example a little bit more just to make sure you convince yourself just from this kind of like an abstract description. But we're going to visualize exactly how to do it. Let me just remind you a little bit more context and give you the 2 principles that you can use, either one, to actually answer questions related to aggregation links. And then we're going to do the exercises together. Okay, so that's about the design. Oh, sorry. So this part over here is the design. This part over here, this is the design. So let me just highlight it. So this part is a diagram for the design for aggregation. So let's now put it. So this part over here is the design. And this part over here is the bottom part is the corresponding implementation. So this part over here with the 3 classes, that's the implementation. Let's write it. So this is implementation, and you can definitely see the correspondence. I'll just show you one of them. You can see here, for example, what about this particular aggregation links about the courses and also multi-valued, right? Between students and also the course. So this is implemented over here. You can see under the student class, we actually got an array of courses, and the name is simply CS. So that's the faithful implementation for this particular aggregation, right? You can see the correspondence for the other 2, the other 3 links as well. You can see this one here, and also this one here, right? The other 2, okay, 1 and 2. And this is the one of the example object structure that we actually spoke about how to build from scratch, and that's something I rely on your study on that, okay? And whenever you want to implement some methods, okay, so let's say knowing the context class. And the context class can either be the student class, can be the course class, or can be the faculty class. Depending on which context you're talking about, the range of aggregation links you can write will be different. You actually vary accordingly. Okay, so there are 2 ways for you to implement the methods. So number 1, I'm going to show you 2 approaches, and we're going to demonstrate to you both of them. Number 1 will be using the type information of attributes. And this one specifically, we want to look at what's the type for each attribute. For example, CS is actually an array of courses, meaning that on CS, we definitely can use the indexing notation because it's an array. And once we go to a particular member, we know that it's going to be of course. That will allow us to navigate to course. So that's approach number one. You just look at the class definition. Okay. And approach number two, assuming that you actually got some visualization of the object structure, like this one over here, like this one. Okay, number two, using the links in an example object structure. Okay, object structure. And of course, the purpose is knowing the context of classes, and we want to implement some method. And you got two approaches, either this one here or this one here. Okay, either one or two. All right, we're gonna see both of them for each of the exercises. And if you go back to the slides, you actually got three different cases depending on what the context is. You will see the first one, we simply are in the context of students. Second one will be in the context of course, and the third one will be in the context of faculty. You can definitely go through the slides, but I'm just going to go over with you the exercises on my iPad.